everyone, and welcome back to Talking Jobs with me, Dr. Rachel Bromnick. And I'm going to be offering you a mini-series looking at mental health careers. And it might be indeed why you chose to study psychology. But we're going to do a few episodes because I want to make you aware of what's really out there, a realistic awareness of opportunities. Because we don't own mental health in psychology. Other professionals too will work with people in psychological distress. And you don't have to have studied psychology for more than 5 minutes to know that it's not just about lying on the couch talking to Dr. Freud. There's a lot of opportunities to work with people, whether that's in hospitals, schools, social services, prisons, as well as in community projects. Now, some of it might be obvious to you. I'm talking, for example, about going down a route into clinical or counselling psychology. But if you've listened to some of these recordings, you'll also know that people with, say, an interest in forensic psychology or educational psychology will also deal with people with mental health issues, especially, I think, if you expand your definition of mental health to include well-being. Now, so let's have a look at some of those different occupations where you can work in mental health. So, for example, you can become a psychological well-being practitioner, PWP. They help people with mental health problems such as anxiety and depression. It's open to people with a range of backgrounds and experience, but psychology graduates often have a really good CV that will take them towards being a PWP. You can work in low intensity or high intensity and a very rewarding career. Have a look at the NHS Careers website. They'll give you some more information there. In fact, if you do go onto that website, you'll see over 350 different NHS careers, not all to do with mental health, but a whole big range of professional work that you can have a look at. So that's PWP. There's also people who work for charities. This is paid work, not just volunteering. You may be helping people with addictions, with gambling problems, maybe with housing issues or working the benefits system. Some key professionals also specialise in mental health as well as psychology. These include, for example, mental health nursing, occupational therapists and social workers. We're going to be looking at a few of those roles. So a lot of different people will work with mental health. It's really over to you to start your research. Have a look at what they offer, what the routes are into training. And I haven't talked so much in this series of podcasts about salary, but some of those different roles have very different levels of pay. And of course I haven't even mentioned psychiatry, which is possibly the most well remunerated, controversially or otherwise. So different routes, and we're going to look at some of those over the next few weeks. But today, stay tuned because we're going to stay close to home with one of our very best homegrown students who's going to talk about her passion for mental health. So you're listening to Talking Jobs. Stay tuned. We'll find out all things mental health. And I'm delighted to have Tara Emery here as part of our Follow Your Passion series. So welcome, Tara.
Hi, Rachel.
It's lovely that you've come in. We'll introduce you to our guests. For those listening, we're calling this recording is about follow your passion in terms of mental health, which Tara is interested in. So welcome back to Lincoln. We're going to start just by asking a little bit about yourself, Tara. So tell us about your degree. You did your undergraduate degree here, didn't you?
Yeah, I studied my bachelor degree at the University of Lincoln. It was in psychology with clinical psychology.
Okay, and you did very well.
Yeah, I got first.
You worked really hard, I know that.
Yeah.
Just talk a little bit, let's backtrack and ask you what brought you to psychology. People choose the degree for a whole range of different reasons. So what made you choose psychology?
Well, I was originally studying an English degree when I was suffering from mental health problems myself. And I was doing that in Scotland. There you have to pick 4 different modules, and one of them was counselling skills. So while I was up there and I'd been diagnosed with these mental health problems, they were impacting on my grades quite a lot.
Okay.
So I went to therapy there, and I found that really helpful.
So you studied therapy and you went to therapy?
Yeah. Yeah, I was engaging in therapy, and I was doing the counselling module, and it was the only part of my degree that I enjoyed, so I completely dropped out and started again with psychology because I just love it.
Oh, right, good. So there is an overlap between English and psychology, because when you study English, you often look at big themes, don't you, like jealousy and characters' motivations and some of those things. But I'm pleased you chose psychology. So that was then another situation where you're learning about mental health, but also, you know, the challenges of your own situation to deal with. Were those still in parallel?
Yeah, I think the more I learned about psychology, the more I got an understanding over myself, and the more I started to realise that mental health problems are not necessarily a problem that just affects certain people. So they're an exaggeration of what everybody goes through every day. So it can affect anybody at any time. And there's a lot of stigma around them, and I just wanted people that do suffer from mental health problems, I wanted to help those people and get them to come to realise that there is a place that you can come back from and you can lead a normal, happy life.
Did you sort of feel it's like giving back, like, or helping? Do you feel like better place to help people because you yourself have been like a service user? Or
Yeah, I have a lot of empathy for it and a lot of understanding for what that feels like. It wasn't so much about giving back, because I think everybody has a passion, they have a place in the world, and everybody wants to give back in their lives, but I feel like this was something that I could do, whereas other people might find it more difficult to do that.
Right. So you were quite famous when you did your degree here for your how should I put it, your incredible passion for reading psychology. So do you want to just tell our readers a bit about that?
So I don't think a lot of the lecturers knew it until 3rd year. I was chosen to speak on a lecturer's panel of debating some issues, and at that time I decided to disclose that I'd read probably over 30 different interventions books from different kinds of therapies. I just wanted to see how they all pieced together, really, how it all fit together.
That is incredible. And what was your then? Did you come out of that process with a particular theoretical choice, or?
I think if I wasn't a clinical psychologist, I'd be a social psychologist.
Oh, okay.
I feel like a lot of it's socially influenced, and we tend to influence each other. Your experiences build who you are as a person, so therapy is a good experience that can change who you are as a person.
Right. I think that reading, though, is really important. I've heard talk from Dr. Mark Greswell, who runs the clinical program here at Lincoln, and he's always amazed that students say, oh, I love psychology, but they haven't actually read any original sort of therapeutic words or books, or like he's a big behaviourist, so he's devoured Skinner in the original. So it is worth doing, especially like over the summer or times like that, you know.
Yeah, I think that's mostly when I did it. I was reading over the summer before I started, because I wanted to get kind of an idea, because I'd had a couple of years out studying English. I wanted to get back into it, and then the more I read of it, the more I wanted to read of it. Yeah,
it's funny, isn't it? Because I always say, like, psychology is not about like mental health and therapy and counselling, but it can be. You know, it's not just about that. So you did your degree. When did you graduate then? What year was that?
That was 2017 I graduated.
Okay, so a couple of years. So what have you done since graduation?
Well, while I was doing my degree, I did a couple of volunteer jobs, working in mental health and working with therapies. So that got me my current position, where I'm still working bank, and I work in it's like a mental health facility for people with learning difficulties. They have mental health problems. And they also have forensic backgrounds. Okay.
Can you just explain a bit more about the bank system? Because I know a few of our students are doing part-time work in that way, but some of our listeners might never have heard of this bank staff idea. So just explain a bit about how it works.
Well, I was doing full time, and when I went to my manager and asked if I could change to bank, they said that was fine because I was doing a degree, so there's plenty of opportunities to do bank work for anybody that wants to do it. Basically, you just can send an email to your line manager or whoever's in charge of shifts, and you can pick up shifts whenever you want. They're usually 12 hours, usually the days or nights, but in bank you can kind of select the ones you want.
Oh, okay. So it's like a flexible sort of like agency working.
Yeah, kind of like that, but you work for the specific organisation.
Right. And when you apply, you go through an interview process and application like you would do for a full-time sort of job, and you get training?
Yeah, they give you all the training. You get restraints training and jobs training, and there's always plenty of shifts going because they always need people in that line of work. So
I know some of our other students, they like the flexibility and they sort of pick up more shifts when they have the time and then can knock them back if they're working on an assignment or something like that. So, and you came back then to us to register for the Masters, didn't you? So which programme are you on now?
I'm doing a Masters in Forensic Psychology at the moment.
Right, how are you enjoying that?
It's difficult. It's a lot of work. It's a lot more work than the undergraduate degree. And like at the beginning, we were all swimming in it, and we were thinking, oh God, I'm never going to make it to the end. But it's just a few assignments left, and I think finally we've got to the point where we've got our head around it.
Oh, all right, good.
It's kind of it's got more of a group feel because they're smaller classes.
Oh, that's good. And you're doing a dissertation or a thesis. What are you working on for that?
Yeah, for my thesis, I'm studying cognitive and social factors involved in aggression in borderline personality disorder.
Okay, so everything starts to pull together, social psychology and forensic and things. All right, that's great. So we've heard about where you've sort of been and what you're doing now. What are your sort of future plans? Do you hope to work in mental health?
Yeah, I want to work in mental health. I originally wanted to work with personality disorders, which was kind of how I've ended up in the forensic route. But I think at the moment I'm not really bothered clinical, forensic. I just want to work in treatment. So my next steps after I leave are to look for either an assistant psychologist post or interventions facilitator post, which is delivering treatments in prisons. Okay. And just see where it takes me from there, really. But I think at some point I would like to do the clinical psychology degree, and then I can work in either forensic or clinical environments.
Gives you that choice, doesn't it? Because some people will go on to the next stage of forensic training, won't they?
Yeah.
But you've got that choice for clinical and things.
Yeah.
You might even, some people go into private practice, don't they? Would you think of that for down the line? Or?
Yeah, I've even considered setting up a private practice of my own and just going around doing life coaching as on the side sort of thing. So there's plenty of options. I haven't set one in stone yet, but I'm just going to see where the next step takes me, and then the next one after that.
I think that's good advice for our listeners, because I think sometimes people get a bit stressed by feeling that they have to know the sort of name of what it is they want to do or have a very, very clear pathway. But I think you're a sort of great role model for someone who's just sort of embraced the journey, including your own journey. So thanks, thanks for sharing that with us, Tara. And you're a fantastic role model, and I really admire the work that you want to do with supporting people in distress. So
thanks, Rachel.
Well, thanks for coming in. We'll say goodbye. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.